Hello, everybody. Hey, how's it going? I am kind of out of internet today, and I'm not very happy about it, but I'm up in the office. I've still got my phone. Luckily, Verizon is still cooperating with me. So I want to talk to you about cash money, all right? I hear a lot of people talking about, well, I can't get started because I don't have any money. All right, that's not true at all, guys, okay? I've been recording videos today because surprisingly, when I'm not talking to you on a live video, I'm still talking into videos, okay? I'm always redoing videos for some courses. I'm working on some smaller beginner courses. I'm working on some big courses. And I'm also working on a book. And the easiest way for me to write a book is just to record my stories on video. But I'm also thinking about just putting those up on YouTube and maybe not doing the book. So I haven't really decided yet. But anyway, I'm always doing videos. I'm always on a video. I've done 6 videos so far today, even though I missed my weekly call with my students this morning because the internet wouldn't cooperate. But anyway, the complaint that I get and the video that I did that made me want to talk to you about this is that when I did my first 2 deals, I did not have any money involved, all right? So the first 2 deals that I did with lease options, I didn't have any money involved, all right? The first deal I did, I found a couple on Zillow. They had their house for sale by owner. And what happened was their story was that they had bought this house the year before, and it was going to be their retirement house. They were going to retire and die in this house. And then their daughter came home unexpectedly, and she was pregnant. And the house that they had wasn't big enough for 4 people to live in. So they had actually already started looking for a rental house to go to because they were under a time clock that they couldn't just sit around and wait on the house to sell. All right, so I came in and I said, all right, well, I can buy this house for what you owe on it, and I can, start making the monthly payments on it in about 3 months. And that's better than the way real estate normally works because usually agents don't come in and say, hey, I'll make your payment for you if it doesn't sell. No, agents don't say that. Agents say, I'm going to put it on the MLS. I'm going to do my best. I've got this, that, and the other marketing, but I'm basically hoping and praying somebody wants to just buy the thing, and I'm not going to make any monthly payments. I'm not going to take over the responsibility. I'm not going to take any risk on this situation. And that's one of the reasons I get so mad at agents, because agents most of the time can't see the forest for all the trees. Agents have such an amazing opportunity to go into people's houses and to give 2 or 3 or 4, 8. So I get frustrated with agents because they only go in with a listing presentation. Their whole plan is to list it. They have no other plan to do anything else, and I get frustrated with them. But anyway, I went in, I told these people that I would take over their payments in 3 months, so they would have to move to this rental house and make their rent payment, but they were also going to be responsible for their mortgage payment for 3 months. All right? And this is the end of February when I did this. So I had March, April, and May. I was on the hook for the first payment due in June. Well, these people moved out. Took them about a week, but they moved out. I used to kick people out of their house, which now I've got 3 rules that I go by, and one of them is that I want an empty house. If you're living in the house, I am not kicking you out. I kicked out 3 or 4 different families when I very first got started, and that was scary, and it was mean, and it was weird, and I don't do it anymore. If somebody's living in the house, I will work out a deal when it's empty, but I'm not kicking anybody out of their houses anymore. It's weird, it's scary, it's crazy. Not doing it. Too many empty houses for me to be kicking people out. Okay, so I had the house empty in about a week, and I was due to make the first payment in June. And I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never done a deal like this before, but I was taking imperfect action. I even had this house under contract before I had my very first call with my mentor. Okay, my first call with my mentor, I was like, crap, I've got a house under contract. I need to know how to get some tenant buyers in here. And he was like, you already have a house under contract? I was like, yeah, I do. So we need to get with it. Let's go. He was super proud of me from the very beginning because I'm an action taker. Imperfect action gets you to an end result that you want. Okay, get out there, take some action. Even if you don't know the next 8 steps, get out there and go with the steps that you do know. Okay, so these people had a great house. I did not have to flip it. They were not behind on payments. It was empty within a week. They were not listed. It was completely off market. Found it on Zillow. All right, the big Z. Okay, these houses are out there. You have to find them. And none of them are advertising that they want a lease option. You have to be able to recognize the opportunity for you to create a lease option. And you have to educate them enough that you're not teaching a real estate seminar, but that you can actually help these people with what their problem is. If they don't have any pain, they don't have a problem, they're not your guy. Not your guy. Okay? So these people moved out. I've got until June. And what happened was a couple came down from Chicago and they saw this house. It was for sale a year earlier. They saw it. They wanted it then. But for whatever reason, they didn't get it. My sellers did, but now it's back on the market. Well, they'd also seen it on Zillow. All right. The day that I saw it on Zillow, they saw it on Zillow. And I bought it. They owed $122. So I got it under contract for $122, exactly what they owed. But they'd had it up on Zillow for $135. Well, I'd put it back up on Zillow for $145. All right. So the people in Chicago were like, well, we want it for $135, not $145. All right. What do I care? You can have it for $135. Fine. So once we'd agreed on the total purchase price, they came down from Chicago to look at the house. And they came down. They liked the house. They ended up giving me $3,000 that day. They gave me $1,000 for an option fee, and they gave me $2,000 because the deal was they had a house for sale in Chicago, and they didn't know how long it would take them to sell this house in Chicago. So they were going to do the lease option with me until their house in Chicago closed. And if you've been in real estate, you know that, sometimes a house goes under contract and then it doesn't actually close, or it gets to the inspection and there's too much wrong with it, or it doesn't appraise for what they wanted to sell it for, okay? Lots of things can happen in regular real estate and in the lease options so that people don't sell houses that they planned on selling. So I told them, I said, okay, so if we agreed to do this deal and it takes your house 6 months to sell, you got to pay $1,000 a month in rent. And they were like, all right, fine. I said, I only had like 2 or 3 years before I had to cash out my seller. I said, but we can't take longer than a year. You can only have a year to pay for this house, whether or not your house in Chicago sells. Okay? And they were again like, all right, fine. So we signed the contract. They were going to buy it from me for $135. They were going to pay me $1,000 a month starting in March. So they were paying basically April and May's rent. If they hadn't sold their house in Chicago by the 1st of June when I had my payment due, they were going to have to pay again for rent in June. All right. So what happened? They called me the next day and they were like, hey, Whitney, we got a contract on our house in Chicago. It's supposed to close the 1st of May. And I was like, holy crap, this is going to work out really fast. But again, I was cautious, because what if it doesn't pass inspection? What if it doesn't pass the appraisal? What if, their buyer backs out or something else crazy goes on? You just can't tell. Well, lo and behold, it went through. Everything went fine. They passed inspection. They passed appraisal. Everything was good. Everything was fine. They closed they went ahead and at the end of March when we signed our contract, since they were renting it from me for April and May, they went ahead and started moving in the next week. The first thing they brought down were 2 kayaks. Okay? They wanted to come and enjoy East Tennessee and escape Chicago. So they did. And we signed the paperwork. They moved in about the 1st of April and moving right along. They were in the house, loving the house. April and May, they closed on their house the 1st of May. They closed on this house like May 13th. I've got it framed over here. I've got my first shut-up check. Y'all want to see it? I've got my first shut-up check framed over here. On May 13th, I don't know if you can see that. May 13th, 2014, I got my first check for $13,000. I'd rented this house that I had $10 invested in. All right. I gave my sellers $10 because I needed a vested interest in the property so that I could be an owner. I gave him a check for $10. I rented the house. I had no payments due. I rented the house for 2 months with no payments due at $1,000 a month. So I got $2,000, and then I got a $13,000 check on May 13th. I had no money invested in this. My seller didn't ask me to go to the bank. My seller didn't ask me about my credit. My seller didn't ask me anything except when I could start making their payments for them. All right? Because when you're helping people, when you find the right people, we want cash, cash, cash. Absolutely. We all do. My sellers in that situation, they wanted cash. They wanted to be cashed out. But I didn't know if and when that was going to be possible. I didn't know these people in Chicago were going to just give me cash. I thought these people in Chicago would give me cash money every month for a year and then buy the house. Other tenant buyers that I've found, I didn't know if they would have the money to take it over, but I knew I could find somebody with the cash to make the monthly payment to solve my seller's problem. All right? So cash now, cash monthly, cash at the end. It's cash, cash, cash. And so if your seller wants cash, that's no problem. But I'm going to give you the cash on my terms. I'm going to need some time to give you the cash. I'll give you a whole bunch of money every month for the next 5 or 10 years. It's fine. It's cash. Cash, cash, cash. Every seller, out of the 50 some odd deals I've done, every seller has wanted cash. Every seller is brainwashed to think that they need cash, that you're just going to go get a mortgage, you're going to dig real deep in your pockets. They all want cash because that's the way they think real estate works. But if you can get good at it and you can find out, how you can solve somebody's cash problem right now, that might be more beneficial to them than getting a big lump sum of cash. Or how long will it take them to get a big lump sum of cash? But if you can take away their immediate cash problem by taking over their monthly payments and doing a lease option, how many sellers are out there that you could be helping right now? We have no idea. The only way to find out how much money we can give them is to get a contract on the house for what they owe, for what their monthly payments are, for no money or $100, whatever you can work out. Or maybe you agree to give them $1,000, but not until you figure out what's out in the market. Not until you find out how much money you're going to be able to get in from your tenant buyer. All right? But we won't know that until we get a contract signed. I had a lady in the workshop last week, and she could talk herself out of any deal before she even went and looked at the house. She could find 18 different ways to research that house and find 18 different things that were wrong with it and not buy it because she didn't want a bad deal. All right, that's fine. I get it. But how many sellers are you helping if you decide it's not a deal before you even figure out what their pain is, before you even figure out if you can help them or not, before you even figure out if they're worth you working to help them get out from this pain? Okay? Don't talk yourself out of a deal. Don't talk yourself out of a deal. Don't research the fire out of a deal before you put it out to the market to see if somebody else thinks it's a deal. All right? Cash, cash, cash can come into your pocket on an option fee. It can come into your pocket in extra monthly payments. It can come into your pocket on the difference between 122 and 135. All right? I could have decided with these sellers that it was not a deal. I could have talked myself out of it, but I didn't. Because I knew I needed to help these sellers. Because I knew that these sellers were going to be the first of many that I could help. And when I walked into their house, I did not have a plan. I did not have a perfect script. I did not have an answer to all of their questions. But I knew that I could figure it out. And I did. All right? Imperfect action is the key. I think it's the key to success. And if you want cash, 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 if they want cash, 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 that's fine. But it's got to be on my terms. It's got to be on my time. All right? You don't need a bunch of money. I gave these people $10. Every single one of you right now has $10. That if you knew how to go get a house, you could go get a house and you could get it tied up. You could take control of it for $10, for $100. But you have to get out there. You have to start talking to a lot of sellers. You have to talk to the right sellers. You have to talk to off-market sellers. You have to talk to people who need your help. You have to talk to people who need your help, and you have to be not afraid of making a mistake. I made lots of mistakes, and I still ended up with $15,000. If I went back now and did that deal, I'd probably do a lot of things different. But I did the best I could with what I knew at the time, and I took imperfect action every single day to make sure it happened. And that's what I want you to do too. All right? No cash, no credit, no banks, no license. I was out there looking for sellers I could help. I found some sellers that I could help. They liked my suggestions. They liked my offers. We made a deal. They ended up cashing out their house. I didn't know that was going to happen. I ended up making $15,000. I didn't know that was going to happen. But even though I was scared, and even though I was afraid, and even though I was worried because I didn't have all the answers, I still went through with it. I still went out there and did it. And you can too. I didn't even have a mentor when I got that first one under contract. I had basically no idea, but I knew enough. I knew enough that I could go out there and try to help some sellers. I could go out there and try to make something happen. That's all I want from you too. Get out there, find some sellers that you can help. If you have any questions, leave them in the box here. I'll try to do another video later about Einstein time, because Einstein time is amazing. I love it. And if you have any questions, my group coaching is closed right now. So I am teaching people how to do lease options. I am teaching people how to buy houses with no money, no credit. I'm taking everything that I've learned over the last 3 years, and I'm restructuring the program. I'm restructuring the videos so that you can take imperfect action and get out there and get more deals done. I want to see more success stories. One of my students this morning, she found a seller that has, I think, 8 or 9 properties, and they're going to meet the seller on Friday to talk about buying 4 of them with owner financing. Can you imagine buying 4 houses on Friday from one lead with no money involved? One of my students is doing that this week. I'm so proud of her. So we'll keep you updated on that. But my group coaching is closed right now. I'll try to get on every day and do a video in this group for you so that you can learn, so that you can, ask questions and let me know what you're dealing with out in the world. Today, I had quite a few messages on cash and how do we deal with cash, cash, cash. So y'all let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be glad to cover it in another video. And let's hear a yay for Christina and the leads that she's got and the opportunities she's got going into Friday. Yay! All right, if y'all have any questions, I'm around. Let me know, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, y'all. Happy investing.